For the last decade, I've been deeply researching and exploring my weird interest of personal productivity. That has included reading thousands of academic journal articles about this subject. I've interviewed the greats, the gurus, the authors who write books on productivity, and also people who are high-flying executives to see how they manage their day-to-day. And I also like to use myself as a human guinea pig of sorts so that I can push on the limits of what I'm able to accomplish every day, mentally and physically. From using my smartphone for half an hour every day for a month, to working 90-hour weeks, to making myself intentionally bored for an hour a day for a month. But through all this experimentation, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's been one fundamental tension that for me has lived in the background of my life, which is that I am one of the laziest people you will ever meet in your entire life. Please applaud for laziness, yes. Yeah. When the day is done, on a Tuesday, afternoon or evening, I don't want to get stuff done anymore. I want to just lay on the couch with the remote in one hand and a big burrito in the other hand, watching video podcasts like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Now, a few years back, I started thinking, why? Why and how could this weird tension live in my life? And to share how and why, we are going to play a game. It is going to be a little thought experiment that I'll guide you through, and wherever the cameras are for people watching, I'll guide you through too. It is called Would You Rather Venus Edition. Hey! So it's a thought experiment, and the thing to know going into this is there's no right or wrong answers here. But here is the scenario. We're all starting a new colony together. We're getting off Earth, yay. But we're going to Venus. And we have to decide how life is going to work, how we're going to structure our days, how we're going to structure our life together. And the thing to know about this thought experiment is every answer you give, whether you realize it yet or not, will be driven by something deeper inside of you. You ready? Okay. Here's the first one. Would you rather chart some unknown terrain on this new planet or lock down and secure our existing living area? You have an answer in mind? Next, would you rather have a longer weekend or hit the next milestone on this mission? And the third and final one, would you rather choose your own job or accept an assigned role on this mission to Venus? Now, there is something that I find fascinating that pulled you toward one option over the other. That is our values. Now, I have to be honest with you. Whenever I've heard the term values, my eyes kind of glaze over a little bit. I think of corporate mission statements and stuff like that. But it's fascinating that there's actual research here behind what we value on a fundamental human level. This research was first discovered by a professor by the name of Shalom Schwartz, and here's the good part, it's been validated across more than 80 countries, so cross-culturally, over 200,000 participants. Now, there's 12 fundamental values, and we all share all 12, but in different amounts. Some of us are high for me and low for me. Some of them are high for you and low for you. Together, these values serve as our motivational core, They drive what we do. And together, as a family, these values complete a continuum of human motivation. They're relatively steady over time. Here they are. The first is benevolence, kindness, serving others. Next up, self-direction, probably a pretty high value amongst the TED crowd. And if you chose your own job on Venus, this probably represents you. The third is stimulation, the love of novelty and excitement. Then there's the value called hedonism, which for the hedonists in the crowd, hooray for hedonism. I love you, sir. Thank you. So if you wanted a longer weekend, this is probably you. You know, hedonism has connotations associated with it, obviously, but it just means pleasure of the senses. Everything from having a longer weekend on Venus to eating a delicious burrito. Then there's achievement, a fundamental human value. Some of us have it, some of us don't. Hit the next milestone. If you chose that, this might be you. Power is a fundamental value. Curiously, the research says it's the lowest value overall for most people. Face is the next value. It's caring how we come across to other people. Then there's security. Includes personal and societal security. The research shows this value has gone up in recent years. Secure the living area, represented by this. Tradition is the next value, loving the customs and norms and rituals of the groups we're a member of. Then is conformity, living inside of the expectations that other people have of us. There's humility. And finally, universalism, which is protecting the welfare of people and of nature. Now, I have to be honest with you, I had my questions when I first encountered this theory. For example, one of my biggest values, if you would have asked me just on the spot without knowing the research, I would say is health, right? So where does health fit into something like this? Now, this is where it gets interesting. You know, the sub-values that we have, like health, can be represented by certain broader motivations. Maybe it's benevolence that drives us forward. We want to live longer into old age to be able to hang out with our grandkids and great-grandkids. Maybe it's security, feeling safe and sound in your own body. Or maybe it's face, you know, getting that six-pack abs for your hot girl summer, whatever it might look like. So our values are always competing with one another behind the scenes. And so one of the best reflections that you can do for what motivates you is, where do you fall on this? Which ones are highest for you? Which ones are lowest for you? This really began to open up a lot in my mind when I encountered this theory. To share a couple of my own values, my top two when I did a scientifically validated values test. Number one, self-direction by a wide margin, right? If I feel I have to do something, that makes me want to rebel and not do it. But this explains the productivity experiments. It explains, why I was so motivated to do them, not for the accomplishment, but for the freedom, for the discovery. Number two for me, hedonism. It explained the laziness. That's how it fell into place. It explained also being into productivity to find the shortcuts with the work that we do. So I have more time to be lazy. It explains the burritos as well. Burritos can be meaningful if you value pleasure. So once I understood this, pretty much my entire past began to make sense. One other kind of weird story from my own life that I was trying to come to terms with, to rectify, was the marathon that never was. So This happened, it was kind of painful to create this slide. It happened over 20 years ago for me. But essentially, I brought that same experimentation spirit to running a marathon. I read every book that I could get my hands on. I had the perfect schedule to follow. I could run for hours on the treadmill. It was to the point where running the marathon would have merely been a formality to do. The finish line was in sight. And so I stopped training entirely. This has confused me in the ensuing years, but it actually makes sense when I look at the things that I value the most. Self-direction, hedonism, right? The self-direction was satisfied. I experimented with it. I did it my way. One of the best songs about self-direction. A lot of songs about hedonism too, but not safe for TED probably. The hedonism was satisfied because I loved every minute of it. The runner's high, even the little pain of having worked out, I loved it as well. Achievement for me is more of a middling value. So I didn't feel I needed the goal. So values are interesting. I find them fascinating. They explain why we pursue things. They explain your past actions. And they also explain why we stop. So, to go back to the confession that I started the talk with, I write about productivity. I'm really into and obsessed with productivity, but I'm also fundamentally lazy. Over the years, this has made me feel quite guilty about how I've spent my time. I would look back on a day and feel not great about it, even though I'd accomplished a good amount and been productive with it. But realizing this critical key, pleasure, called hedonism in the research, is a fundamental human value. So embracing these values, my guilt evaporated. I've always seen productivity a little bit differently. To me, it's not about doing more, faster. It's about doing the right things, deliberately and with intention. When we accomplish our intentions, we're perfectly productive, regardless of whether you want to lie on a beach with a pina colada, one for each hand, or whether you want to answer 500 emails. Right? Productivity is all about intentionality. And the research here says something rather profound, I think. Our ultimate intentions are our values. That's really what we're after at the end of the day, because it's who we are. So with these values, do a reflection. Know which ones are strongest for you. Love and accept the ones that are strongest for you, regardless of if it's self-direction or hedonism. And then you can take it to the next step. You can work with them to actually harness this motivational power that they can give to you. You can live in accordance with them, because when we filter our actions through our values and we find that our actions are aligned with them, our behavior feels more meaningful. That's the process through which meaning is made. So know what you value, because at the end of the day, we are what we value. Thank you so much, everybody.